Lord Sebastian Coe, welcome to Melbourne. Welcome to SportNXT in what has just been an amazing 12 months. For somebody who has been a superstar as an athlete and one of the greatest administrators in world sport, can you give me an insight into your thoughts over the last 12 months?
Well, I don't know, Eddie, I don't quite know where to start. The pandemic has upended all our lives. It doesn't really matter where you are, what you're doing, what occupation, what organization. The world has changed dramatically. And I think there are elements of it that are going to forever be changed. But, how do I sum up the last 12, 15 months? I mean, it was sort of March of 2020 when, it came home to me that things were going to be very different. I had council members flying to me in our headquarters in Monaco. So some of them on their commercial flights were turned back halfway because France suddenly said, right, the borders are closed and you can't land. So, even then we had a sort of hybrid model. I got some people coming in online, some people who were physically there. And this, and we started with something that over the Christmas period where, we sort of getting rumors about some strange virus that was developing in China, and it seemed months away, then it sort of seemed weeks away, then it became days, and then suddenly in all our organizations we were having to make judgments by the minute, and particularly in sport, because of course stuff was then being cancelled, and we then had a responsibility to try and get the athletes back into training and then into competition. So no, I can't think of any time. And I guess you, because you've got a sporting background as well, don't think either of us can probably remember a more challenging time to be delivering sport, or frankly, to be delivering anything in a very complicated world.
Seb, today we're launching SportNXT. We're looking forward to seeing you in November. From your experience over the last 12 months, sports, governments, everybody have really had to become a lot more collaborative. And that's what we're about. SportNXT is to get the best and brightest to come together and share ideas and build sports, not only as a business, but as an experience for people at home and for the athletes themselves. Is there anything that you've picked up in the last 12 months and thought, well, this is at least an unexpected benefit of what's going on? We are actually starting to work together and come up with better ideas.
I think one of the observations I make, Eddie, is neither revelationary or particularly revelatory. I mean, it's the communication that brings you and I together today has actually worked really well. I just remember going back a few years, we had to make a momentous decision in our sport, and that was to suspend the Russian Federation. And in order to make that decision, it took my internal teams the best part of 3 days to get people on landlines, squawk boxes in the middle of a table, a couple of online images. Now we're making decisions across 28 council members. And if I need to make a decision this afternoon, I know that my teams will probably have everybody assembled within minutes if we need to. So that's a huge jump forward. I'm not saying we want to spend the rest of our lives, looking at each other, down the barrel of a screen. But there's no doubt that actually it reflects one observation you made a moment ago, and that's collaboration. We're making decisions now, and the technology that brings us together makes those decisions so much more collaborative. And actually, I think when you're making collaborative decisions and everybody feels that they've had a say in that decision, they've seen the direction of travel, they've been able to shape that direction of travel, that you've actually got more chance of that decision embedding in your organization, because people in all your stakeholder groups, and in our case 214 federations, go back into their federations and say, yeah, I was party to that decision and that's why we're doing it, and they're able to explain it. So I think that's the one big difference for me. And look, we all sing a good game about sustainability, and it's important, but I've told the organization, don't ever ask me to sign off another visit where eight of us all travel 8 time zones for a 2-hour meeting to sort of have supper and then glad hand and come back on a return flight. It just isn't going to happen anymore. First of all, if we've got a sustainability strategy, let's live to it. Secondly, it's no longer cost effective when you can have those kind of, meetings that, bring everybody together. When you have those sorts of online meetings, they're actually much tighter. People don't tend to speak for quite as long because, you know that you don't have the whole day for a council meeting. You might only have 3 hours, because you can't ask people to sit online for 6 or 7 hours. So I think it's sort of, in a way, crystallized our thinking as well. And those are the things that I want to take forward from the pandemic that I think will serve sports organisations pretty well.
Yes, the good thing about a Zoom is you can wrap them up, and I know that time is the essence for you at the moment, Seb. One final question from me, and that is the power of sport. Your 2 Olympic Games were mired in controversy in Moscow and LA for political reasons. You ran the greatest of the modern era in London. It was just fabulous, but there were so many things up against you, particularly even in the early days. Everyone, the naysayers were there, and you were able to come up with something spectacular, as they were in Moscow, as they were in LA, as everybody generally is at the Olympic Games. This one, of course, has its own problems, but it'll have its own solutions and triumphs as well. So my final question to you, Seb, is for all the people in the room here today who cover sport, love sport, administer sport, compete in it, tell me, what does sport actually mean to you when you look at it, and what's in your heart from when you're a little boy to where you are today as one of the most powerful figures in the world? Has it changed?
Well, the first message to everybody sitting, listening to this today in the room is thank you, because, you're committed to something that has an impact way, way beyond the field of play. Of course, we marvel at great performances in an Olympic stadium or on the soccer pitch or the tennis court, but sport doesn't really come alive, in the boardroom or the council chamber. It comes alive on the field of play, and it comes alive way beyond the field of play. I know from my own background, I joined an athletics club at the age of 11. I understood a whole heap more about the world through sport than I would have ever done had I not been involved in sport. By the time I was 24, I competed in pretty much every Iron Curtain country. I competed in the first communist games. I competed in the first overtly capitalist games, where, we went from the command and control in Moscow to, the comedic, cartoonish experience of being in an opening ceremony where you got 84 white grand pianos all being played by Liberace lookalikes. Now, I know that there'll be many in the room who won't have a clue as to who Liberace is, but believe me, it was quite an amusing occasion. And being serious for a moment, Eddie, we know that sport it's not just about identifying talent. There are communities at this very moment we're speaking where coaches, male and female, are probably providing the only anchor point in the lives of young people. Take that away, we are very much poorer. So sport doesn't just, exemplify excellence and outrageous talent. It also is there probably being the most potent social worker we have in any of our communities. And, and I know sport impacted on you, it's impacted on me. And I guess as administrators, all we're really wanting to do is to create great events and great platforms for more young kids to experience what we experience.
Well, Seb, good luck, mate. Have a great month. I hope the Olympic Games go well for not only you, but for the entire athletics world, and more particularly for the Olympic movement. And we look forward to seeing you in Melbourne in November for SportNXT and sharing more of your insights and your great stories, and the fact that you're one of the great blokes in international sport. And we're really looking forward to having you down here in Melbourne.
Eddie, thank you. And I'll expect a pint in the Bowie.
We'll make sure that, and I might even have a couple of nice Mornington Peninsula Pinot Noirs and Yarra Valley Shirazes ready to go for you as well.
Oh, you've gone posh, Eddie, on me.
Exactly. We might go past the Broadmeadows pub as well.